Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for July 8th, 2015, the WNW 245. Let me get this out of the way. I was wrong about the indictment for Hillary Clinton. I mean, silly me. Forget about obstruction of justice, money laundering, taking bribes, play to pay, treason, just under the Espionage Act. Gross negligence under the Espionage Act, which is a felony that carries a 10-year penalty. I figured she'd get convicted of that. And listen, James Comey, the FBI director, laid that case out. How did he describe Hillary Clinton? Extremely careless. What's the beginning definition of gross negligence under the Espionage Act? Extremely careless. And he says, I couldn't establish an intent. You don't have to have intent for this kind of a charge. And Comey says, nobody's ever been, prosecuted for that before. Nobody's ever had multiple private servers as Secretary of State. And you know what I think about that. The reason why she had it, not because she didn't want to use, she only wanted to use one device. Another total lie, according to James Comey. Is because that she wanted to cover up the fact that she was, taking bribes and doing favors and pay to play, and for example, a big chunk of our uranium business in America got sold off to a little shell Canadian company where, before that happened, some of the investors gave a donation to the Clinton Foundation of about $145 million. But hey, but at least even under the Espionage Act, where Comey laid out the fact that she was extremely careless and she lied about not sending and receiving emails, that she didn't return all the, thousands of emails back to the government like she should have, that she destroyed emails, which also looks at, guilt and why are you destroying emails? Why are you hiding? Why are you doing it? No. So I was wrong. I guess I'm just too righteous of a person. I figured that Comey would indict her, and read the statute and say, woo, she broke the law, and I'm going to recommend indictment, but that didn't happen. And all the other stinky, crazy things about Bill Clinton forcing himself on, supposedly, I think somebody called a meeting, supposedly he forced himself on Loretta Lynch's plane or government plane, it doesn't belong to her. But there's some other things going on in the background. And listen, I was wrong about not being indicted under the Espionage Act. I thought that was the easiest case you could have made, and he didn't make it. His own words, he should have indicted her by his own words. But I digress. There's a couple of sites out there, Breitbart and InfoWars, who I like both sites a lot, and they say, the big deal is the Clinton Foundation. And remember, I've been harping on why did she have a private server in the first place to, hide the fact and cover up the fact that she was, enriching herself, selling favors and influence, being bribed, committing treason with the whole Clinton Foundation while her and Bill Clinton were, getting paid tens of millions. He was getting paid tens of millions of dollars for these speeches around the world. And she was doing these favors, getting these big donations to the Clinton Foundation. Supposedly, when Comey was asked, are you looking into the Clinton Foundation? He wouldn't, nope, I'm not going to answer that. So you do have an investigation into the Clinton Foundation. I'm not going to answer that, Comey says, in Congress. So I don't know. Is he going to, I would think this is an easy one with the Espionage Act, that he would have taken Clinton right out of the presidential race by saying that, that he's going to recommend charges. I thought he would do that. But he didn't, so I don't know if he's got an investigation, if they're going to go after her for that. I mean, I'm not going to make a prediction on that. I want to reinforce one other prediction, though. But I will say that, when I first heard that he wasn't recommending charges, I tweeted out, which I never tweet, other than, hey, watch, USA Watchdog for this guest. I tweeted out that he should quit masquerading as a law enforcement chief and step down now, immediately. Unbelievable. He basically even said at the end of the press conference when he announced that he wasn't going to have charges that, I want to warn people. If anybody else tries this, don't expect the same thing. I mean, he basically said that there's a two-tier justice system, that if other people did this and other people have been convicted of a lot less stuff. I mean, here's just one of the things that General Petraeus, convicted. Same kind of thing. Scooter Libby, another secrets convicted. Here's the YouTube filmmaker jailed. I got this off one of the sites. I want to say it's Zero Hedge. Edward Snowden, he's charged. He basically blew the whistle that we were all being spied on. And here, Hillary Clinton. Hey, the Democratic nominee. I mean, it's absolutely maddening to me. But, there's supposedly he wouldn't confess whether or not there's an investigation into the Clinton Foundation. And again, if he wouldn't charge her on the Espionage Act and the private server, and you have a servers, multiple. You have, the intelligence people. One of the former intelligence person who's not a congressman says you got a homebrew server. You have all kinds of information, top secret, classified, SOP information going through this server. You delete all these emails. You aren't forthcoming. You are what Comey says, extremely careless, and that's not illegal. What? But we shall see about the Clinton Foundation. I'm not making a prediction on that. But back to my original predictions. I made two predictions. The first prediction I made is that Hillary Clinton would not be president of the United States. This was before the first Republican threw his hat into the ring for the nomination. I'm doubling down on that. She won't be president. The other thing is don't give up, folks. You can't give up on America, even though it appears to be totally corrupt, that none of the bankers go to jail, none of the top politicians go to jail. I'm talking to the Trends Research, the guy that founded Gerald Celente. He's going to be the early Sunday release. He talks about that, the panic, the financial panic of 2016, possibilities of war. Gerald Celente will be the early Sunday release, so you won't want to miss that. A couple of things I wanted to bring out, too, because I always tell you I analyze the news to give you a clear picture of what's going on. And, the media thought shapes and lies by omission and does things that make you think that a story is not as important as it is. This story with James Comey is a first ever story with Hillary Clinton being under FBI investigation. And she could be still under FBI investigation for the whole Clinton Foundation thing. And influence peddling, taking bribes, treason, whatever you want to call it. But here is the day after that Comey comes out and says that Hillary Clinton was extremely careless. Here is the front page. What's the top story on the front page? It is casinos had multiple run-ins with rules, and we're talking about Trump. Let me here. This is outrageous. Trump and the law. Trump. They're doing a story about Trump casting doubts on him legally, and this is the biggest story ever. Then on the front page, they got this flattering story of Hillary Clinton, who flew down on Air Force One to North Carolina with the president. Clinton isn't quite in the clear. She's not quite in the clear. James Comey says that she's extremely careless and enumerates lie after lie after lie that she told. I didn't send and receive classified information. I didn't send and receive any classified information on my private server. Lie. I only wanted to use one device. Lie. Multiple devices. She had multiple servers. Now, do you think that this should be the headline above the fold, that casinos might have had run-ins, with the rules, not the law, the rules? Or do you think the day after Comey says she's extremely careless, here you go, extremely careless acts, but not criminal, and one lie after? Now, you think that should have been the real headline, the real front page story? This is what I'm talking about how the USA Today and other mainstream media operations come out and they stack stories that really are the most important stories towards the back of the paper to give them less credit, towards stack them down. The more important the story, the higher it is, and they stack stories on the second page that really should be above the fold on the first page. Should have done that. The other thing is that, here we have the day that Comey yesterday was going to be interviewed, by Congress. They called him up in front of Congress to explain himself, which is why we found out that he's not going to comment on whether or not the Clinton Foundation is under investigation. Here we go again, and just here, Pelosi mocks Clinton critics. Now, this is Susan Page, who I guess masquerades as some kind of a journalist. Susan Page here. Hold on, let's get in here. Come on there. There you go. They call it Capital Download. You know what this really is? This is an op-ed piece, a freebie given to Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader in the House of Representatives, and they pass it off as a news story, and it's a front-page free pass op-ed piece, which thought-shaping. Pelosi mocks Clinton critics. It's you're just mocking critics. Not that she lied repeatedly over and over again. Even the Associated Press did a takedown on Clinton about the multiple public statements that were obvious lies, that were lies now pointed out by James Comey of the FBI. But Comey, I think, was derelict in his duties. If he did have another investigation going into Hillary Clinton, into the Clinton Foundation, the Clintons in general. And there's all kinds of threats going on in the background. And maybe that's what was going on in the background of Bill Clinton with Loretta Lynch threatening all kinds of blackmail and other stuff. I don't know. But if he did, he should have just simply charged her. He laid out a case for charge. As a matter of fact, the first about 14 minutes, people were all watching this and going, oh, he's going to charge her. Oh, he's going to recommend charges. He's going to recommend charges. And then, not really criminal. Not criminal. It's just really unbelievable to me. And here is the day. So here is the day that instead of having this on the front page, the title is very misleading. Clinton email probe is not over, says GOP. Well, yeah, they got Comey up there to explain you didn't charge her. You basically laid out a case to charge her, and then you didn't charge her because you said it didn't she didn't have criminal intent. Wow, you know how many other people didn't have criminal intent? I mean, do you think General Petraeus had criminal intent? No. Do you think other people had criminal intent? Do you think Edward Snowden had criminal intent when he blew the whistle on we were all being spied on and in spades and all the spying going on of our allies? Do you think he didn't make any money on it? So it's unbelievable to me, folks. But doubling down on my prediction, she won't be president. And don't give up on America. As Winston Churchill once said, never, never, never give up. Do not give up. That's what they'd love to have you do. Just give up. Don't give up. I think the one other thing before I move on to the economy, and I want to end up with the economy and gold and silver. One more thing. Listen, when Bill Clinton was impeached, do you know that his popularity rating went up? That some people just thought, well, they're just being overly hard on him, and his popularity rating actually went up. Could the reverse be happening now? That Hillary Clinton wasn't charged and she basically got away with it, that the laws are for little people and not for people like her or the bankers that commit one fraud and crime after another, or Hillary Clinton who lied to the public, he lied to Congress. That's what the evidence appears, that she had, under the Espionage Act, she had a private server, had all this information, and with the kind of information that she had, of course, Comey says there's no evidence it was hacked. Please, come on, stop. There were no passwords on the servers. That's like opening your garage door and leaving it open. There were no passwords. There was no security. Even James Comey said, Gmail had better security. She had no security, none. She had no security, no passwords, nothing. Tell me the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the Israelis, the French, the German, the Brazilians, anybody who wanted that information, tell me they didn't get it. They got it. The economy, which is the big deal, the big thing. Somebody may look at this and go, oh, hey, 10-year Treasury yield hits fresh low. That means people are scrambling for putting money anywhere they can so they can get big money, is scrambling to put any money it can somewhere where they think it is safe. Now, if you have a $3 or $4, $5, $6, $10 billion, you can't go put it in an American bank that has a $250,000 insurance claim. This is what the full faith and credit of the U.S. government means. So people are running to the safety of bonds. Why aren't they investing that money? Why aren't they putting that money into play and working for you? Why would they put it into the 10-year Treasury, which is at hitting one all-time low after another? I mean, pretty soon it's going to be 1%. The 10-year Treasury. And this is what Greg Manarino brought up as a major warning sign: is that all this money is trying to go to buy even negative. Now there's 11 trillion overseas where they guaranteed their 10-year bond or their bonds, the euro bonds, whatever. They're guaranteed after 10 years you're going to have less money. What do you think the effects of inflation are going to be on that? It shows you how weak the economy really is. Another thing, and I just got a list here. I'll just show you. This is S&P and Fitch and Moody's, and we're talking about sovereign debt here. And I'll just tell you, all these rating companies say that the downgrades of sovereign debt are at all-time highs. It's unparalleled in history that all these big countries like Brazil are being downgraded. Let me just Argentina, is it Argentina? United Kingdom, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, the people with some of the biggest oil deposits in the world, Saudi Arabia, their debt downgrades. And this is talking about downgrades of all kinds of countries. Sovereign debt, the debt that's guaranteed to be paid back, well, it's being downgraded, which means there's less of a chance of you getting your principal back. As Bill Gross, the bond king, who's now at Janus, he was over at PIMCO, says you're going to be worried about the return of your money instead of the return on your money. That's the bearish comments. And I've been also focusing on Deutsche Bank. And Deutsche Bank has this a chart that is eerily similar to the last year and a half before Lehman Brothers went down. Lehman Brothers was the bank that supposedly was the flashpoint that caused the last financial meltdown. And I'm going to bring this up again, folks, because a lot of the banks are in trouble. And here is Deutsche Bank. And here is Lehman Brothers after it collapsed. And here is Deutsche Bank. It's hitting one new low after another. I don't know if it's all-time low, but in the last couple of, year and a half, I mean, this is Deutsche Bank was $130-$140 a share, not that a couple of years ago, year and a half ago. And now it's down to, here's my scratch writing. Last week it was 13 and change. Now it's 12.60. It was down 37 cents, which doesn't seem like a lot. That's 2.85%. That was yesterday. In one day, 37 cents, you start getting down in these single digits, towards these single digits, you're down, 37 cents isn't much at 3%, annualize that. It now is $12.60 a share. Last week it was something dollars a share. And Jeff Gunlatch, who manages $100 billion, made this little quip, and he said, when Deutsche Bank goes into single digits, people will start to panic. When Deutsche Bank goes into single digits, people will start to panic. That's kind of what happened with Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers, I remember a week or two before it went under, whereas they were, venerable bank, 153 years old. Lehman Brothers will never, poof, over the weekend. Banks, to you and me, because we don't watch them quarterly, we don't watch them. Banks don't fail all of a sudden. They tip you off to failing a long time in advance because they have to report quarterly. Now, to you and me, Lehman Brothers failed on a weekend, but it was the stock charts. I wonder if this is the reason why the Fed just recently said, after it had this latest stress test, which some banks didn't do, Deutsche Bank did terrible, Italian banks are in big trouble, Santander Bank is not doing well, some of the French banks are not doing well. Incidentally, the Gerald Salente from Trends Research, the Trends Journal, talks about all this stuff. But I wonder if that's the reason why they told bankers to go out and buy their stock, so they could, inflate the stock price, so we don't have that chart that looking like all the banks taking a hit. They've lost a lot of money. They can't make money in this environment. They're not doing well. The Fed say, they're doing great. That's why they're telling them with the money. Greg Manarino brought this up, saying they gave them free money. Now the Fed is saying, hey, take that free money and buy your own stock back. And, all the CEOs of the big banks love this because they really get paid mostly in stock. Their salary is diddly squat to what they get paid in stock, awarded to them in stock they own. And so, folks, listen, the economy is doing terrible. The sovereign debt, one downgrade after another. And listen, you know how the downgrades go, right? They usually don't downgrade somebody until it's so obvious. Like, I think they downgraded Enron before it collapsed, like the day it collapsed, the day before it collapsed, something like that, when it's imminent. So the downgrades are coming. There's more and more downgrades coming. There's going to be collapses coming. Deutsche Bank, I keep bringing up Deutsche Bank. It is according to the IMF and the Federal Reserve and their stress test, it's the most systemically dangerous bank on the planet. The most dangerous bank on the planet. Now, all this debt is not going to be repaid. And here is, don't expect central banks to do anything about it. This is from the central banks of central bankers, the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. And all the big heads of all the banks are on the board of the BIS right here. BIS. What use is a gun? This is their quote. This is not my quote. Of what use is a gun with no bullets? BIS says central banks defenseless against coming crisis. They didn't say a possible coming crisis. They didn't say it might happen. They are defenseless against a coming crisis. They're not going to be able to pull the same thing that they pulled in 2008 and 2009 when they had QE1, QE2, QE3. Heck, they're probably going to have QE4 soon. I don't know if that's going to work or not, or maybe they already have a version of QE4 going on right now by giving the banks all this money to buy their own stocks. Suspension of accounting rules, massive fraud in LIBOR, the London Interbank Offer Rate, massive fraud in the mortgage industry, massive fraud in the interest rates, massive fraud in forex, the currency trading, which is more than $5 trillion a day, the massive fraud in rigging gold and silver prices. Thank you, Deutsche Bank, for pleading and telling us all that was going on. They are a primary dealer of treasuries. Massive fraud, massive money printing, massive loss of any kind of accounting ability whatsoever, complete fraudulent. Don't think that the central banks are going to be able to pull this out, which brings me to my last point. A lot of people say, well, Greg, why do you talk about gold and silver so much? I'll tell you why. What asset could you have that functions as both money and a store of value? Well, you can't use dollars. That's not a store of value. Works as a transaction, but it's not store of values. All the currencies are fiat. The debt that we have, that we piled on to the economy, is never going to be paid back, folks. Period. The end. It's not. It's not. They're going to probably pull the inflation trigger. I think we have inflation and deflation. I think we have hyperinflation and defaults at the same time. They're going to save some by printing all the money they can and let others go. Listen. Deutsche Bank, and I'll come back to that, they have 100,000 employees. They do business in 70 countries. They make Lehman Brothers look like, some tiny little credit union in Keokuk, Iowa, okay? That's a huge bank, and they got around 70 trillion in leverage called derivatives on that one bank. Germany has a GDP, a gross domestic product, of $3.8 trillion, and one of their banks has 70 trillion in extreme leverage, and their stock price is going down on a sleigh ride to hell. I don't know when it's going to happen, folks, but it's going to happen. And when it happens, the speed of it is going to be stunning. Please prepare. Go buy yourself a bag of rice and 5 cases of water. I mean, if I'm wrong, you can eat the rice and drink the water. It's going to come, folks. It's going to happen. The Bank of International Settlements says it's going to happen. People that invest big money say it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And there's, according to the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS, there's going to be no fixing it. We're out of ammunition. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments. We got smart people, on the site. Really smart people. Thank you for supporting us with your donations. That helps us out. Remember, fear not. God the Father is in charge. You prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Do not be consumed by fear. Do not be consumed by helplessness. Listen, the powers that be would love to have you just lay down and quit and give up and do whatever they wanted to do. Don't do that. as Winston Churchill once said, never, never, never give up. And that is great advice. Fear not, God the Father is in charge. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Fear not.